always acknowledging that He who dwells and whispers in our hearts is the source of our arts. This is Hearts, Meaningful Conversations. This time of the pandemic plunged me deep into contemplation that motivated me to write some verses, which in turn have been transformed into music. One such work, among others, is this that I did with Nikko Villanueva, a young composer who is also now training with the Philippine Madrigal Singers. During the pandemic, I kept on thinking of how people are coping. I wondered what their thoughts are, or where their thoughts lead them. I was drawn to think of the world, of the whole humanity as in an instant eclipsed into darkness. And I feared that our sense of humanity would also be snatched and sucked by this darkness. These brought me to think of the Passover, when the angel of death hovered over Egypt. These brought me to think of the many moments of night and darkness written in the history of salvation, which then gave birth to hope. I realize God manifests Himself more fully when everything seems dark and hopeless. I then thought of that night when Jesus was born, when the Word was made flesh. It is evening. The people are going about their lives, living each day ordinarily. Some of them, perhaps out of hopelessness, just decide to live as if there is nothing else beyond this life. There is fear of death, though everyone knows it is inevitable. There is fear of death because it is believed to be the end of everything. And there is a culture of doubt. No one is to be trusted. We are now in a similar time, and it is against this backdrop that I wrote the text for Sa Ganitong Panahon Din. The text is an invitation for the soul to cling on to hope, to remember, to believe. In a very similar time, such as we are in now, a star that shone brightly and a host of angels illumined the sky and ripped the darkness that enveloped that long night to announce, "Glory to God in the highest, and peace to His people on earth." God is with us. Though Christmas is over and we are now in ordinary time, allow me to share this work still with you, to remind us as we continue with our lives. When things become dark and hopeless, let us be like the humble shepherds. Though perhaps weary and tired, they have been in attention during the night. Let us see the light. Let me share with you this virtual performance of Sa Ganitong Panahon Din by the world-renowned Philippine Madrigal Singers. But before that, allow me to read to you now an English translation I wrote of Sa Ganitong Panahon Din, for the sake especially of those who are not able to understand Filipino. In a very similar time, men yielded to inviting embraces of fears for death's coming, that they spent their hours on sources of joys that are merely fleeting. In their minds, this life is just but one and there can be no other, that in due time will have to end, will pass, and will be forgotten. Blinded to the truth, they opted to set their sights on the darkness, where they allowed their eyes to get accustomed, and where they there dwelled. Their voices are no longer familiar with hymns and songs of praise. Every melody sings of misery, every breath sighs of tears. In a very similar time, one similar gloomy evening, there in the eastern night skies shone this brilliant star of Bethlehem. In a very similar time, one similar sleeping evening, the heavens turned very bright, and a host of angels came to sing. Let your hearts remain expecting, always waiting for his coming. In the midst of grief and gloom, keep vigil, always remembering. The stars do shine brightest when night becomes bleakest and turns deepest. The Messiah came when mankind was covered, enslaved in darkness. Let me now invite you to listen to this historical performance of the score by the Philippine Madrigal Singers as they recorded their individual parts separate from everyone, as this performance was done during these times of the quarantine.
Tinanggap ng taong yakap ng takot sa kamatayan, kaya ginugo ng oras sa sayang pananalian, sa kanilang kaisipan, buhay ay isa lamang, kalaunay mapaparang lilipas, mamamaalam.
Bulag sa katotohanan, kadiliman ang tiningnan, kung saan matay hinayaan, na masanay na manahan, dinatilanan ang dinigawin ng mga papuri.
Bawat ibig ay hinagis, bawat ingay himig, higpit. Sa ganitong panahon din, isang gabing makulimlim, sa kasiyahan sumiray ang tala sa Bethlehem. Sa ganitong panahon din, isang gabing tahimik, lumiwanag itong langit, puso